Peace, what's going on? It's Ali Dope checking in once again, and today we're going to be cooking up 3 ink bleed effects in Photoshop that you guys can use in your next cover art or design. These are some very easy effects to do to give your design that paper vintagey style. Enough talking, let's get to designing. For our first effect, this one is the most easiest, simplest one. I have this poster design I already kind of mocked up here. I kind of want the March Madnesses and the Juju Walk-ins part to have some sort of rough edges. It's just too clean based on the threshold and the grunge of the rest of the design. To make it easier for me, I will just go ahead and collapse the text into one simple text. We're just gonna go ahead and double click on that, open up the layer style, and we're gonna go ahead and add an outer glow. We're gonna change that to black now. Boom, and you can play with this spread and stuff like that. So the size, not too crazy. I want this spread really high though, to give it like that Gaussian blur look here, boom. And then you're gonna go ahead and just set this to dissolve to give it that kind of like broken edged vibe. Now you can kind of play around with all the settings, like the range to really get in there. I kind of like that. And then you can always play with the size so you can not see it. You can see it a little bit better here. I think that's perfect, I'm not gonna lie. Since we already have that effect, all we gotta do is copy that layer style and then paste it on the Juju Walk-ins one up here in the corner, and then paste that. It'll give it kind of the same grungy, rough look. Remember, it was a little bit more clean. This is the before, this is the after, just by adding a few effects. And then we're gonna do that last one with the Trojans one as well. Paste that layer style, but as you can see, it's giving us a black rough edge. So for that, we want to change that to the red that we already had. So we're just gonna go ahead and just update the outer glow color. That's for our first effect. For effect number 2, I have this BMW E30, one of the eclectic vintage cars from, I think it's the 80s, the early 80s, early 90s. But I saw it and paid it for. I really just always like that aesthetic of that car. That's besides the point. Y'all are here for the effect. And the effect for me is making this look a little bit more rough. It already applies some thresholds and some noise type of effect to it, but I feel like the text is a little bit too perfect and the lines of the squares a little bit too perfect for the aesthetic. So let's try to add some overall grunge and roughen edges to each piece so everything's not as smooth. I already have an adjustment layer with all my adjustments and textures. So we're just gonna go ahead and duplicate this file right here. Now for this one, I'm gonna just go ahead and merge the group and then create a smart object. I don't recommend doing it this way unless you already have a copy of the PSD that you're trying to create this effect with. This is like some final touches type of stuff. Like there shouldn't be any more changes, anything else. Like you should already have a main file and this is your duplicate file. Because sometimes some of the effects don't work when you create a smart object or if you even merge all the items together. Just keep in mind, this is non-destructive editing. Make sure you have a copy of whatever you're trying to create this effect with. I'm gonna go ahead and just merge this group. And then once I merge it, we're gonna go ahead and create a smart object. I'm gonna go up to Filter, Distort, Displace. And we're gonna just go 5 by 5. It all depends on your image and the size of your image as well. So just go back and play with the horizontal and vertical scaling. For the displacement map, I always do stretch to fit. I just think it's the best option. And you can either do wraparound or repeat edge pixels. Me, I'm gonna go ahead and repeat the edge pixels and then just check that box right here. I do have this ODM rough displacement map that I already created. You can definitely create your own based on using grunges and stuff like that. It gave us like rougher edges around everything. Remember how everything was all sharp and things like that? This is how it looked before. And then once you go ahead and turn that displacement on, now we can see all the rough edges around the whole thing. That's cool. Now you can leave it like that and then just let it be what it's gonna be. But you know me, I can't do that. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and create another smart object again. You can stack your effects since it was already a smart object. But for me, I just like separate layers within layers. I just how my mind works. For this, now we're gonna go to Filter, Filter Gallery. The first one you're gonna add when you open up Filter Gallery is gonna be this glass effect. And then for the glass effect, we're gonna go ahead and just distort it by 4. You can always play with your own distortion based on how much you wanna see and how much you want to distort. I'm just probably gonna go 3, 2, I'm gonna just go by 3. The smoothness, I'm gonna keep this around 6, but you can also play around. As you can see, less smooth will give you like a distorted type of effect, like some sort of sandstorm. And then just make sure the texture, they have a few here, just make sure it's frosted. And then the scaling you can play with is just gonna make sure how big the glass reflections are. So I usually keep it like around here because I really don't want it to be too much. I just want you to be able to see that something is going on. So now we're gonna click this plus button down here and create a new set of effects. And we're gonna go under torn edges, under sketch. So click on torn edges, and you're gonna do this twice. For the first one, we're just gonna go ahead and set this to about 4. I do want a strong smoothness and contrast because I still want all my image to be there. I just wanted to add this on there as some sort of effect on there. And then this is what you're gonna get. It's definitely a rougher edge type of vibe. I like it a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate those. For the bottom one, I'm gonna turn off those filters that I just made. So now you'll have the one that's plain with just the roughened edges with the displacement. And then on the second one, you'll have the one with all the color that's been displaced. I'm gonna click on the second copy and then just play with the blending mode. Soft light looks pretty good. It does play with the colors a bit. So now after we made our displacement map and everything, it looks a little off-centered because obviously it's been displaced. So we're just gonna go ahead and increase the size just a little bit. Boom. We're just gonna go ahead and turn those adjustments back on that we already had. That's gonna bring it back. And then for this, I'll probably just add a photocopy on top. It's my photocopy here. And then I'd probably just drop the opacity just a little bit. And then you can even add a levels on top of the photocopy just so you can get out the parts that you really want. So I'll probably highlight a little bit in here, bring down the blackness up in here. It's nothing too crazy. It wasn't supposed to be that. I'm just like literally showing you guys different ways to add that grunge roughness into your images. Simple effects like boom, boom, boom. So for the last effect, this one is mostly gonna be based on text-based graphics. So if you have like quotes and that type of stuff that you like to post, this might be better for you. I already have some lyrics from Kendrick Lamar's verse from Good Credit on I Am Music. The numbers is nothing, the money is nothing, I really be him, I promise. He really went off on that. But anyways, first thing first is we're gonna go ahead and convert the text, all of the text into its own smart object. Now you can go back here, change the text, anything like that. So you can use this as like a template or something of that sort. I put it on a red background so the letters are white. I'm using a font called Amador Gothic. We're gonna go ahead and create this lasso tool and then let's start selecting the parts that we kind of want to be blurred. This is cool right here. Then we're just gonna press Command or Control J. It depends on what your computer is. Now you just have the ones that you are just selected, okay? Next, we're gonna go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. We're gonna set that. And then we're just gonna duplicate this twice. 1, 2. And now you can see where the Gaussian blurs are really coming through. Everything is calm. This is kind of where all the blurs are gonna be. That's pretty much it for like the Gaussian blur and stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and press Control J and duplicate this background layer. Select all of the text and make another smart object. Okay, so now this smart object is with everything, like even the background. Okay, this is the only way this effect will work. If you try to do this effect without having the background selected, you will run into problems. Again, you will run into problems. So make sure you have your background selected. And now we're gonna go to Filter, Filter Gallery. First that we're gonna do is the graphic pen. The graphic pen, you can find that under the sketch folder here. Right here to the second row to the right. I kind of already have my settings, but you can always play around. The longer the strokes is more noisy when you do less strokes. So the more strokes it is, the less noisy it will be. So I'm gonna put mine around here, and then this will balance the darkness and the lightness. So you just want to bump that all the way to the right. Now you can play with these. Go down here and click the plus icon, create a new layer, and now we're gonna create a new layer with torn edges selected on it. And then with this torn edges, we're gonna go ahead and go around 25, 1, and 19. Now, based on this gives you your nice balance on there. Now press the plus one and create another torn edges icon. And for this one, we're just gonna bump this up, the smoothness up. And this is where you can see how rough you want it, how not rough you want it. If you want it to be a less like more grungy just around the edges. And the smoothness will help too. Like the smoothness right now kind of controls how much blur is happening. This is a little bit less. Turn it up. Now it all kind of depends on what you want and like what you actually selected. This is kind of the effect in general, but you can have it like go back in there. If you don't want it as like prominent, like you want it to be really distorted, you could do it like this. You can also adjust the Gaussian blur so the Gaussian blur is not as strong. This is a little bit different. This would probably work like fire if it was something like blurred out lyrics, or you had to blur out some words and you were trying to make it like, oh, like the blank blank is nothing, the blank blank. So it's like words, words, blank, words, words, blank, something like that too. That could work as far as ideas that you can get from this. Duplicate it, right click and clear the smart filters. Now that'll give you back to your Gaussian blur and everything. Boom. Now you got this over top of it. Go ahead and click on this at the blending modes, and I turn the blending modes to like lighten or screen or something like that. This one looks cool too. If you want to subtract it, kind of give it like an offset type of vibe, like with the black with the red with an offset of a white. That looks pretty cool. But for me, I'm gonna go with screen, and then I'm also gonna just bring the opacity down so it's not as strong. I would rasterize this image, go back in here, turn these off, the Gaussian blurs, turn them off, go back, and now you have a little bit of a stronger screen. If you felt like some parts were too strong and you need to bring back some of the stuff, you could just bring it back like this. Throw a texture on that bad boy like this. Set the blending mode to like darken. Boom. And then since it's already white, you can just kind of invert it, turn it to lighten or screen or something like that. More grunge to it. Screen as well. Ooh, I kind of like how that one looks. Darken brings the white, but since it's already dark, you can do white. But if you wanted to change it and you want it to be all black words, it could be that too. And that's just playing with text. So like you guys should really like be playing with all different types of ways to do things. Like you could use it on text, you could use it on images. And that's kind of like the main uses to roughen edges, is to give it more of a grungy, vintagey, paper, ink, bleed type of feel. So all of these things are all the same stuff. Like people just name them different things. So anytime you're searching something, grunge, ink, bleed, this is the last one out of the 3. Right now it's at the screen, but if I went and subtracted it, it'd be black with all this stuff. And then say I just go ahead and set this to like subtract and bring the opacity down a little bit. And just a few clicks, a few settings, things change. Now, I hope you enjoyed that. Those are 3 ink bleed effects that you can use on your next design and or cover art. Remember to add your own style, your own flair, and play around with different settings. If you liking what I'm putting down, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for the kid, yes sir. And leave a comment if you have any questions. If you need some more in-depth help, check out my Only Dope You Creators program, and I'd be happy to help you with all your design needs. But anyways, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, keep hustling, keep creating, and most importantly, keep learning. And until the next video, I'm out. Yes, sir.